everybody, and welcome back to Tech Thursday with the Fort Moody Public Library. My name is Liz, and I'm here with Virginia. Hey, Virginia.
Hello.
And we are here today to talk to you about commonly used icons. So by icons, what are we talking about, Virginia?
So we're talking about those very obscure random pictures that people have been using that you see on website, you see on your phone, and generally they don't usually label them. They're just this picture, and then they often represent an action that you can do, or it represents something for that website, or how do you use it, or how do you use that particular app. But because when you think about, I think it becomes more and more popular because on your little tiny little phone here, there's only so much space on the screen. So very often in order to save space, they don't have the space to write out the words for you. So they don't tell you that this is, if you press this little picture, you will be able, for example, to print this photo. And because of that, they have sort of like condensed everything into these little pictures to show you what you're supposed to do. And magically, they expect all of us to know exactly what all those little pictures mean. And that is not often the case, especially when there are very often different pictures that represent the same function, depending on what website you're on, depending on what device you're using, and also that they like to change them every now and then. So what we find when we help ourselves with our using our devices, or we help others coming to the library to use our devices, is that they it very often, like, it confuses people, because it's like, well, what is this, like, how do I do this? And then we say, oh, press this button, and then they're like, but it doesn't tell you what it is exactly. So it makes it especially tricky. And I think on the last of couple episodes, when we talk about email, for example, and one of the things that we keep saying that, well, sometimes if you put your mouse over the icon, if you're using a computer, it will tell you what it is. Like a little tooltip will show up and say, this means print, or this is like download. However, that is not the case on a phone, because you can't just hover over your phone screen and expect it to tell you what it is. So it becomes a little tricky and kind of confusing, and sometimes very frustrating when they don't tell you what it is. So that's kind of the idea, I guess, we came up with today for our Tech Thursday, is that we decided to talk about all these little pictures and what they mean.
Yeah, if only they would be consistent. They being all the software companies, all the hardware companies, like you were saying, one icon that might mean share on my iPhone does not appear on your Android phone, for example. You'll have a totally different icon. So hopefully today, some of the icons that we will show you will help to demystify what you are looking at.
And especially when some of the icons, like when you look at it, you'll be like, okay, yeah, I can see that. And some of the other ones is like, why? How is that represent whatever you want it to represent? So it makes it just very confusing, and it's not very user friendly sometimes. So
So that's why we're here today. And so why don't we get started with some of our most commonly used icons?
Sounds good.
All right, first up we have the home icon. So this is one of those icons that makes a lot of sense. Home is your house or where you dwell. And when you see this icon on your app or your device, then that means you are going back to the start. So for example, if you were at the library website and you had been exploring a little bit, but you wanted to go back to our main page, then you would look for an indication of where to go home. So home, again, takes you back to the starting point of whatever app you're in or whatever website you're in. So an example of this is when you are looking again at the library site. This is on a mobile device, and you can see handily in the upper left-hand corner, there is that home icon. So if you tap on that, it will take you back to our home page.
All right, and then the next one we have is the search icon. So this looks like a magnifying glass, just like when you're trying to search for something, like a detective. So that you will see quite frequently on websites, on Google, for example. When you see this little magnifying glass, it generally means that this is the box, and it very often appear next to a text box, and that means this is the button that you can use to put in your words, your keywords, to search for something on the page or on the website. Sometimes when you tap on the icon, a search box will appear if you don't see one right away. Again, is to save space especially on a mobile phone screen. So tap on that, and then you should be able to see a box where you can start typing in the search terms. So an example of that would be, this is our library app, and you can see that on the top there, there's no search box there, but if you tap on that little icon that has a little magnifying glass there, a search box will show up, and then you'll be able to input your search terms in it. So that is another very common icon that you will see on websites and on apps.
And next up, we have Zoom. So Zoom is handy for if you are finding it difficult to read text on a page or in an app because it's too small. You can zoom in, for example, with the icon on the left that has a plus sign. Or if the text is too big and you want to fit more of that content onto your screen, you can zoom out. And that is signified by the minus sign within that magnifying glass there. So here we have an example of the zoom functionality in our web browser. So right now it is at 150%. So we have zoomed in to the website. So we have used the icon that has the plus sign in it. So plus making bigger. And if we wanted to zoom out, we would choose the magnifying glass with the minus sign.
All right. And next is refresh. So this you can see is sort of like a little cycle kind of icon. And that generally is used when you, for example, you're on a website and it seems like it is not showing up properly, right? So what not loading properly, you might want to hit that refresh button to refresh the screen, and it will try to bring you that website again. This is also very handy, of course, when you are trying to go to a website that has a lot of updated information. Like it might be a website that update the information like every 30 seconds, and you want to see the latest information. When you're on the NHL website, for example, and you're trying to figure out the scores, and then so you might want to hit that refresh button a couple of times. If it doesn't seem to be moving, the clock is not moving, you might want to hit the refresh, and it will load the latest update for you. So that is handy when you are looking at a website that has a lot of updates, news updates, stocks, hockey scores, that type of websites. And here is an example on my phone, for example, and then there's a little refresh screen. So again, we're on the website, on the library website, and if I want to refresh the screen, so just ask the computer basically to reload the website for you. You can tap on that to get the same site, and it will be refreshed, and it will bring you all the updates to your phone.
And now we have several different icon possibilities for favorites, bookmarks, or saving for later. So just like it says, if you want to mark something as your favorite, something that you want to go back to, something that you want to bookmark, something that you want to save for later, meaning you want to maybe save a link to refer to later, again, also like a bookmark, here are some variations of the icons that are available. So we have a little pennant on the left. You can maybe kind of think of that as a ribbon bookmark. I'm not sure if that's the intention of the designer, but that's kind of what I think of it as. You also have a heart. So hearts, you love it, you like it. And a star, gold star for you. Now here's a couple of examples of either bookmarking, favoriting, or somehow saving your place. So on the left-hand screen, we have the star icon in use that is on an Android device. And over on the right-hand side, under a picture of my cat Cedar, there is a heart, and that is in the Photos application within my iPhone. So the heart allows me to mark that photo so that I can quickly find it amongst the 13,000 or so images that are currently on my phone.
All right. Speaking of many, many different versions of it, this is our menu or options. Sometimes we refer to the first one on the left, on the top there, on the top row. We often call it the hamburger menu because it looks like a hamburger. Sometimes there's the three dots, and it goes sideways, it goes up and down. Sometimes there's an arrow, sometimes there's 9 dots. Like there are so many different versions of this same thing. So if you see any one of these, you know that when you tap on it, it will give you more options. So it will give you a menu of choices so you can select what you want to do next. Again, this is a way for them to save space so that they can put more functions and hide them in a spot so it doesn't take up that much room on your screen, so you can still focus on the content of your screen. So many, many different versions. But whenever you see lines, dots, very likely that means there's more for you to choose. So a couple examples here. So again, we're on our library app on our library app right now. So you can see that on the left-hand side, we have that 3 dots right next to the search icon. So when I tap on that, what you get is what you see on the right-hand side, the screen on the right-hand side, where you see that there is the menu that shows up. So the options for me right now, you've got Explore, My Borrowing, My Shelves, Library, and more. So those are your options that are hidden in that menu. So it's basically toggling open and close. So when you tap on the icon again, it will close that menu up. So that's usually what happens is when you tap on something, something pops up. When you tap on it again, it will shut down. So that's like a little toggle with that. So that is one example of it. And then on the next screen here, we have more examples. You can see now I have a Gmail, and there's the hamburger menu there. So there's again 3 lines. If you tap on that, more options will show up. And on the right-hand side, we have our library website. When you look at it from your phone, and then you see right next to the login button again to hide more options, we have the hamburger menu there again. So when you tap on that, more options will show up. So very often if you are on a website and if you're looking for, well, how do I navigate through this website? You're looking for that navigation. Very often is hidden under these 3 lines.
And now we come to our share icons. And I feel like this is one of the most confusing set of icons out there.
Agree.
So on one hand, right?
Like
and you're an
how is
Android user.
this share? How is this share?
Yeah, I have some beef with this Android share icon, which is on the left, which is like some molecules, or I don't even know, Virginia.
I don't
Can
know.
you
Yep.
explain it? Okay. So in Android world, those dots joined by lines on the left-hand icon that denotes share. The icon in the middle with the sort of box with the arrow pointing upwards, that's commonly found in iOS or Apple devices. And if you're on a site, for example, you may even see that arrow. So an arrow that's doesn't have a straight tail. It's got a bit of movement because you are pushing data or you're sharing information. That's my interpretation of this anyways.
That's a good way to interpret it. Exactly. I'm just like, what does this arrow mean? Like, yeah, pushing information out. I guess that's, pushing it to other people.
It's like the, pictographs of the, that we've all tried to interpret throughout history. So you can see a screenshot on the left-hand side in the Photos application, and we've got that share icon down there. So if you wanted to share this with another person, for example, to text somebody this photo, if you tapped on that icon, it would give you options on different ways that you can share that photo. And then on the right-hand side under Cedar, this is the iOS or Apple Photos app. And we've got that box with the arrow pointing outwards, and that is Apple's version of the share icon.
And you often see these also on websites. Like if they want, like if you're reading a news article, for example, and they want you to share that with other people, sometimes you might see these weird arrows trying to get you to spread that story out. And so you might see sort of the same thing. And as Liz pointed out, what happens after you press that button, it very often depends on what kind of sharing options you might have installed on your phone. So it might be emailing, it might be text messaging, it might be sharing it, even like when you want to share it to your cloud storage, it's also on there. So there's a lot of weird sharing options depending on what's on your phone.
Just to complicate things a little bit more, yes. Lots of options out there.
All right, our next one is download. So this one, I feel like it kind of makes sense when I look at the icons. It's like you're putting something in, you're downloading something, right? At least the arrow is pointing down, so it feels kind of, like it's just showing you're putting something in a box, you're downloading something from a cloud, I guess. I don't know, but that's the download button. So if you are, for example, on a website and there's a file that you want to download, there's a photo that you want to download to your own device, this you often see an icon like this, generally a down arrow somehow. And then on the next, we have an example here. This is on our Libby app. So our Libby app is what you use to read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and also read online magazines. And so in this case, I have borrowed a book, but it hasn't been downloaded yet. So it's showing me that little cloud with the little arrow icon. So it's asking me if I want, I could download this book onto my phone, so that when I don't have internet, I can still read the book. So that's what that little download button is.
I like it when they're nice and straightforward, like the download icon or also the delete icon. So delete means to get rid of something. And in this case, it's pretty clear, I think, of course, with a trash icon or just an X to say, nope, we don't want this anymore. So again, back to our photo apps on the left for Android and on the right for Apple. You can see that they both use the trash icon. So very clear as to what the purpose of that icon is, which is really important, especially when you're dealing with your memories like in photo form.
And the next one is also pretty obvious, I feel. Probably, or maybe I'm just
Yeah, for people who own one, maybe, or
yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think it's own probably because also I'm used to seeing like a printer. But this is the print icon, so you see that a lot on website, on like even if you're opening up on like on your Microsoft Word, for example, very often you see an icon like that. It's supposed to be a printer, so there's like your little print job at the bottom there. So that is your print button. So when you tap on that, it will connect to your printer, and it'll ask you probably for sort of some like input on like how many copies you want to print, like whether you want to print it black and white or whatever. So depends again on what you have, but that is the print icon. So I think if you know what a printer looks like, that's probably okay, obvious.
Yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. At least we kind of grew up with this icon, so it's hard to say if it means anything to anybody anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But now you know. And we jumped ahead by accident, meaning I jumped ahead by accident a little bit, to settings. So this is another one of those terms of something to access where the designers can't all seem to agree on what the icon should look like. So settings is usually where you can configure what your experience using either the app or your device looks like, so you can tinker around with it. On the left, we have some tools. So it kind of looks like you're trying to fix something, which I don't know if that's really what we want to do here. In the middle, we've got a cog, so a component of something mechanical. Again, I don't really understand what these all mean, but these are commonly used icons for settings. And then on the right, we've got, I guess you can think of them as slider buttons. So if you've ever seen, say in a recording studio, like in the movies, and somebody is using a slider button to increase or decrease volume or change different levels of things. I'm assuming that's what that right-hand icon is referring to. Again, it's all whatever you make of it.
Yeah.
Whatever helps you remember what these icons mean.
I guess it's tools, right? Like I'm assuming they're saying that when you tap on that, then you can, like you said, customize it and using tools to like extra tools that you might have. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that makes so much more sense for that icon on the left there. So much more sense. Thank you. So as you can see, there are several different examples of what settings could possibly look like for you. So on the example on the top, where we have the orange circle in the top right-hand corner, we have that cog, and that's within your Gmail, as you can see. Below, there's two screenshots. One is from an Android phone. That's on the left with the blue icon and the white cog. And then on the right is Apple's iOS icon for settings, which is a whole bunch of cogs like in a watch, just to be extra fancy. So there you go.
And of course, too, like for any of these icons, even though we're showing you the Android and Apple version, I think sometimes depending on what version of the Android you might have, it might also have a different look to it. So
yeah, so just be aware that there could be variations. There most likely are variations, but these are sort of clues to help you navigate the icons and do some educated guesswork, let's say.
all right. And as you can see earlier on the settings icon too, like there was right next to the Apple version, there's a little round circle and there's got like the one in it. And then here are some examples of that. You might see that next to your email icon. It might have a number in the circle next to it, or you might have like your menu that has a weird circle next to it. These are all telling you that you have a new notification. So there is an alert that they want you to pay attention to. So generally that shows you that there is something new, whether it's a new email, there's a new update they want you to download, there's something new that they want you to react to. So they generally have that kind of like notification, and sometimes they just use that little bell and they ring a little bell to let you know that there is something happening. You better pay attention to me. So those are different versions of a notification icon. So when you tap on that, like once you have read the notification or you read the alert, then those little circles will go away because there's nothing new anymore. So that's what those little circles are.
And to check your account, if it's a site where you can sign up for an account, or to sign into that, you may see login, basically to access your user configurations, your user settings, your user data. Simply enough, it's a little person. It's your account. So consider that icon a symbol of that.
All right, and the next one you very often will find on your phone, especially on your tablet. This is the microphone or the dictate icon. So for a lot of phones now, they kind of like they say that you don't have to type anymore because typing on a phone is not always the easiest. So very often you can just say the words, right, using your Siri or your Google Assistant, and you can just say whatever you want. You can say, so you don't longer have to type. So if you're on Google, for example, if you want to search for, like, say, Port Moody Library, you don't have to like type in Port Moody Public Library. You can just press on the microphone and dictate that, whatever that it is that you wanted to say. It's the same as if you want to send a text, send an email even, you can just dictate that. And so very often, any time when you have an input away for you, or they're asking for you to input like a text or anything like that, very often you might see this microphone icon. That means that you can, instead of typing, you can just say it out, whatever it is that you want to dictate. And of course, the apps and all of them are getting better, but they don't always catch all the words you say. So you might still have to go back and, make sure that it is exactly what you want to say, and make some changes. But that is a handy thing to have. So microphone or dictate. So there's a couple different options here. So you can see on the top is like the Google search box, and you can see there's the microphone there. And you can, when you tap on that, then it might ask you for permission to use a microphone, because not all apps have that permission. So you have to grant the permission for it to use the microphone, and then that will input whatever you're saying. And at the bottom there, you can see is the iPhone text message, so iMessage, and then there's the little icon there, and that is how you can activate your dictation.
And another straightforward icon is to contact us or contact whichever organization's website you are on or whoever developed the app that you're using. If you want to send them a message, it looks like a little envelope, just like you're sending them a bit of snail mail. So if you tap on that, chances are it'll take you to a page or a form that you can fill out, or even open up your email client, depending on, again, what platform and how the site or the application has it set up. And then you can just type in your message and send it away. And Virginia, that looks like we are at the end of our commonly used icons.
So many. Doesn't matter. I love how we just justified what some of those are. We're like, we think that's why they use this picture. We don't actually really know. But
however helps you remember, then go with that. It's like a mnemonic device, like alliteration sometimes. It's your interpretation.
That's right. Yeah. And so if there's any other icons that you find when you're using an app or whatever, you're using a website, and you're like, I wonder what that is. Very often we always advocate for us to find. It's like, oh, well, tap on it and see what happens. But that's not always something that everyone wants to do. So if you are curious about, well, I wonder what that do, and if you don't really want to tap on it, you can always let us know it. I'll just put it in the comments, and we will try to figure out what it is and what it does. Again, even though we show you some examples, like there's so many different variations of it, and it changes sometimes, like convention changes. So if you see something that you're kind of wondering about, please do let us know. And I guess the other thing we should probably let everybody know is what's going to happen next week to Tech Thursday.
So the Tech Thursday you have come to depend on and love, happening every Thursday at 2 p.m. We're moving. Surprise! Tech Thursday is now becoming Tech Wednesday. So we will be live on the air on Wednesdays starting the first week of March. That is March the 3rd, 2021. That'll be our first Tech Wednesday. And we will be broadcasting live at 2:30 p.m. So plenty of changes abound. This is all in our web calendar, calendar.portmoody.ca. And of course, you can always check out our broadcasts after the fact and our video archive on our Facebook page. And we've got videos on our YouTube page as well. Just look for Port Moody Public Library.
So if Wednesday doesn't work for you, it's okay. You can still watch us at 2 o'clock on Thursday and pretend it's live.
That's
or anytime,
right.
Anytime that's convenient for you. Yeah. But we will have the same content. It's just on a different day. Same content, same hopefully interesting tech topics that we will explore. And we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday next week.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it too. And I think we're good. Send us your questions. Send us your comments. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, great. So have a good day, everyone. We will see you next week.
Bye.
See ya.